So there is this ongoing debate that will probably never end about whether or not supplements are actually beneficial to human beings, or do they just make really expensive urine? I know that sounds kind of gross, but let's face it, that's what a lot of people think. Well, I am of the belief that supplementation is absolutely necessary for anyone who wants to perform at a higher level. Unless you are getting just absolutely perfectly clean water, you're breathing perfectly clean air, and you're only eating organic and in quantities high enough to give you the vitamins and minerals you need of organic nutrients, then most likely, if you want to perform at a higher level, both physically, cognitively, and you're really focused on health span, you're probably going to need some supplementation. Well, I learned this from my dear friend, Dr. Gus Vickery. So here's the deal. Gus is a family physician of over 30 years experience. And one of the things that he's always demanded of his patients is that they take good blood work. And what he does is he doesn't just give you a report that says the kind of the top line, where do you fit within the general public? He goes at a deeper level to find out at the cellular level, where are the deficiencies in your blood work? And here's what he found after years and years and thousands of patients. He found that there are 80% of us that all have some, by and large, the same deficiencies no matter what. So what he did is he started to set out to figure out how he could create the smallest bottle cap. And what I mean by that is the smallest number of individual supplements you could take possible to give you a baseline enhancement for your overall health that would protect you from the toxic environment that we all find ourselves in this modern habitat. And that is what led to the development of the foundational stack from Authentic Health, which you can find at shopauthentic.health.com, today's sponsor. So here's the deal. What Gus has developed is your essential nutrients, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is going to give you those essential nutrients that you're probably not getting from your food, because let's face it, you're probably not eating all organic. And even if you are, you're probably not eating in a quantity great enough to give you the nutritional density that you actually need. Then there's the essential fats. We always hear that we need omega-3s and all these good fats. Well, what Dr. Gus did was he developed a special formulation of essential fats to make sure you get the fats that you need for sustained and better health. And then finally, for that protein synthesis that we all need to build lean body mass and increase our bone density, one of the most critical aspects of longevity, he has developed essential amino acids in his own formulation. Look, this is what Dr. Gus is actually prescribing to his patients and has been for years and has had remarkable results in doing so. So in the debate of supplement or not to supplement, I'm a big believer in supplementation. I don't believe in going out there and just grabbing everything and looking at the wall of supplements and trying to pick and choose and piece it together. I trust physician formulated supplementation. That's what I take. The foundational stack is a part of my everyday protocol, along with creatine and some collagen. These are two things that I will always have in my dietary protocol. So check out shopauthentic.health.com and get your foundational stack right now. And if you will use promo code Jason, you're going to get a discount. So check it out right now, shopauthentic.health.com. Now, enjoy the show. Michael, finally, welcome to the Jason Wright Show.
Jason, it's a pleasure to be here. Let's get to it.
I'm so glad to have you. So, all right. So I get this email from a member of your team that gives me a brief description, and they got me with longevity. That was in the subject line. One of my favorite topics to talk about. I love talking about longevity, health span. This audience knows that's like, I basically launched a whole other podcast called The Healthy CEO, which this will probably air on as well, just because you fit perfectly into that audience segment. It's entrepreneurs who are interested in longevity, health span, health, wellness, the whole thing, biohacking, all of it. And so I saw that, but then I really got intrigued about you and your story when I read about the couch surfing, your girlfriend's health issues, overcoming adversity, all these things. And the fact that you're kind of as random as I am about this. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are like that. It's very rare that you have that linear Bill Gates type entrepreneur that his school gets a computer, he learns to code, and then just loves what he's doing, and it goes from there, and he kind of stays in that lane the whole time. A lot of entrepreneurs, we love the thrill of the chase. We love to, we're never victims of fate. We just kind of keep grinding until we figure out something that we can grab onto. And I kind of got that sense in your background. So with that, fill in some of those pieces. What led you from couch surfing to the Jason Wright Show?
That's a very long, random series of events, kind of like a video game. But I think what you're saying is very true. At least for me, I've always considered myself like a Renaissance man, and I remember leaning into that concept that I wasn't going to be great at one thing, or only be able to have enough attention to be interested in one thing. So I kind of thought of like, okay, well, what if I put together a whole host of varied wide skills to make like a synergistic concept? And I really think that's what an entrepreneur is. You're wearing a ton of hats, and you have to understand and be good at a bunch of things, and then you have this unique perspective where you can communicate with everybody in a team, and have a holistic bird's eye view of something, and you can go up above the forest and pick the direction. You may not be the person to like efficiently move through it, but you're moving in the right direction, right?
Dude,
So
you nailed
uh,
it. Agree. Agree with all of
it
it.
started off. I was an artist. I was a musician, songwriter, trying to do that. I was couch surfing in New York City, working at Columbia Records, unpaid, and just every couple days I would move to a new stranger's house, and then I went and after that tried to make it as an artist myself, and um, had a big philosophical change, and that's what kind of led me to this path. After years of being on food stamps and just being broke and struggling and trying to force what I wanted into the world, I decided to invert absolutely everything. And it was, what if the thing I do for work isn't my purpose, meaning, status, the reason? What if the work was what allowed me to pursue those things?
Mm,
And so I was like, instead of working the most, what can I do to work the least and open up freedom? So my new mantra became get free first. And everything went through that filter. And it was this radical, revolutionary new perspective for me, because instead of being concerned about what I wanted to do, I had to invert and be concerned about what people wanted. And so I just started looking around for what people were, where there was inbound, where I could see that demand exceeded supply, and I could just start helping people where they wanted to be helped, instead of like, here, constantly selling something, right? Like people didn't want my music.
yeah.
um, so that was the big kind of revolution for me. I sold all my guitars because I was just broke. I couldn't make the rent, and I started my first company. I was DJing weddings on the side to kind of like make money. And I was the guy I was working for, like the first entrepreneur I really got exposed to, great guy. He also had a photo booth, and I was running this photo booth, and I could see those just people were really loving it. This was like 2009, 2010. And I was like, wow, there's an opportunity here. I should start my own photo booth company. And just tried to invert everything in that. Like that one took like an hour to set up. It was very technical, like things always broke on it. And you had to have a big van to move it around. It didn't take very good pictures, but people still loved it. So I was like, wow, like you really can't mess this up. But I decided to make one that took brilliant photos, that it took 3 minutes to set up, could fit in a Nissan Sentra, and then I could have anybody run it. What I noticed about being a DJ is like that takes a lot of skill, like a tremendous amount of skill. You had to pay someone really well to do that. To make this system for the photo booth that I wanted, like anybody could do it, right? And that was another big aha moment for me, is like, you can't scale things that are complex. You have to make them McDonald's level simple, and then you can scale that. So beautiful things are simple, or they make complex things simple.
Mhm.
And so that was the beginning of that journey. And it worked so well that we started getting inbound. This is my nose always just follows, like when people knock on my door, like, hey, can I buy this from you? And I go, Yes. So people wanted to start buying the photo booth from, my partner and I, and, to, like, start their own business. And we were operating in, like, 6 cities, and, we were on this motorcycle trip across Mexico. Totally different story, but we're, like, gone for 3 months. This business is operating. It's making more money than I ever thought I would ever make, which the goal was to make $30,000 a year, right? I thought that was like, wow, what would you even do with that much money? So we're somewhere in the jungles of Mexico or Guatemala, and we keep getting these emails that like, hey, I was just at one of your events. I'd love to buy this photo booth, and and we were resistant to it. And then I was like, wait a minute, if we sell a business, that's like leveling up. I'm not doing the service business. Now we're doing a product.
Yeah.
I can scale products way easier than I can a service. And I don't have to be like, oh, it's Saturday night and we're in, fucking Cancun or wherever we're at, like with, no reception, some little surf town that doesn't have internet. I want that. I want freedom. So everything's still going through that get free first. So that's what I was like, okay, if we move to product, I can be even more free. So we started selling the photo booth as a franchise, and we ended up selling like 1,000 of them around the world. So there's this huge demand for people to want to have like a side gig. And, so we 10x'd what we were doing in the business. And, there's no better MBA than doing the thing, right? So we
100%.
just learned so much, and we knew nothing about business. I knew nothing about photography. I remember when we first started the company, we didn't even know how to like get the camera to work, like it's just like going to the library, looking up tutorials and trying to find it on YouTube. And anyways, yeah, that was the beginning of my entrepreneurship evolution.
What a cool story, and you dropped a lot of nuggets there, man, that we need to cover because what not the least of which is this whole idea of being a generalist. I think the book, I can't remember who wrote it, you could probably tell me.
Range,
Right.
maybe? Or
Yeah, Range. Um, I think that was the first book that made it for, like, guys like me and guys like you, uh, it was a book that came around and made me feel like, "Okay, good. I'm not just some ADD, non-committal, ne'er-do-well chasing, idea fairies all day long. There is a type like me, and it's okay. And in fact, now more than ever, someone with a generalist, perspective is necessary. So I can totally relate to that. As a matter of fact, we laugh in my family. My sister-in-law once said that the hardest question she gets is, "What does Jason do for a living?" When people ask her, and I told her, "It's always gonna be the hardest question you ever get, and that's all you need to know." Because I don't and the thing is too, you said get free first. I think a lot of the reason why guys like you and I that don't just have that word accountant, lawyer, or, this kind of really, really defined lane is because we have discovered. I even wrote my first book that would make a great, addition to your toilet, your toilet, was kind of the whole idea of that book before I really even knew anything was escaping corporate America and start to create a job and a vocation that would provide for the life I wanted to live outside of that. And so in that journey became a lot of generalist ideas and everything. So I totally get every single thing you're saying. And then a final little uh, bow on that of where I think it makes a lot of sense. You mentioned that you stopped just pursuing your passion because we're told that we've grown up in this generation of, and God bless him, Gary Vaynerchuk, I think is awesome. I've learned a lot from Gary Vaynerchuk, but this just post and chase your passion, do what you're excited about and all this stuff, great. And there should be a component to that. But
Mhm.
I've become more of I'm more aligned with Scott Galloway, who says, "Stop that." Most people, like you saw it. Most people aren't going to make their living as a rock star. It's just most likely not going to happen. It doesn't mean, except for like in your case where you sold your guitars so that you could pay the rent, it doesn't mean you should never play a guitar again. Just stop thinking that you're going to be packing out stadiums, and go find something that you're really good at. And guess what? Really, really good big 5 firm accountants make a lot of damn money. Really good attorneys, really good, salesmen, they actually make a lot of money. And then in their part time, they can go to Cancun for the hell of it and play in a little band with their buddies or something, but make the money first. And I just had this conversation with a really good buddy of mine, Joel Green, who he's the author of the Immunity Code and in kind of the same space as you are. And I have a nutraceutical company myself, so we're kind of swimming the same soup on health and wellness. And he told one of our buddies, "Man, I know you're trying to do what you're really, really passionate about, but at some point you just gotta go make some money." And nobody really tells us that because it doesn't sound sexy. It almost sounds shallow, but at some point you gotta go make some money. And then you can have some life outside of it to fund it. Am I wrong?
No, no, I think you're totally right. The nuance I would give is that you have to earn the right to pursue what you're passionate about.
Well
You're
said.
not the
Well,
hero's journey doesn't start with you slaying the dragon,
well said.
right?
Mhm.
It starts with the unexpecting or the reluctant hero, right? He does not have the skill sets. Has to go through a whole series of events to become worthy to take on that,
Right.
right? Um, so when I say get free first, it doesn't mean that's the only objective. Is like once you can be free, now you have one developed the skills where like making money isn't difficult
Yep.
anymore, right? Like for me, it's an effortless thing. I don't have to ever think through that prism of like, oh God, how do I pay the rent? I like how arrogant of me. Like I couldn't even pay my for my own food. I had to have food stamps, and I thought I could just make this Herculean leap. Like how silly! Like
Yeah.
that I could impose on the world what I wanted out of it.
Yep.
You have to earn the right. So like for the first step, like you if you get free, that means you've learned how to support yourself. You've made everything easy enough. You've developed enough skills to be valuable. And now you can go up the hierarchy of needs. Like that's the roadmap, right? So first you got to like, get those first needs met. And then you can move up and then start pursuing like, okay, now I'm going to get the relationships and the network and the community that I want because I have a value to offer now to other people. And then after that, you can start pursuing things like, um, what's next? I'm blanking on the word, but self actualization,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
How good can you be? How far does this talent of yours really? Can you keep developing it? And then after you've maximized your abilities, then you have the right to self transcend.
Right.
You can make something bigger than yourself
Yeah.
that like other people can become part of and lead. And we've inverted this. Everyone wants to be an influencer with nothing to say,
Yes.
right? Nothing behind them to like any kind of expertise or why should I follow you? You can't even like all these life coaches that can't pay their own rent. It makes
Right.
zero sense to me.
Right.
Like, um, I get it's forever. I get like 15 cold emails a day, right? And God bless the hustle,
Yeah.
but your life would be easier if you created something so valuable that I was emailing you,
Mm.
you know? When all these people, they're always like trying to offer me things that I'm not asking for. And the immediate spot I go to is like, why would I take business advice from this agency? Do you make tens of millions of dollars a year? No. Like, why am I listening to you? So, like, literally, to get through to me, you have to be a peer or higher. And that's how everyone should be taking in information, right? You
Yep.
shouldn't be taking relationship advice from like a 3-time divorced person or health advice from like an overweight person. Like, it's just like most advice is terrible, right? So,
Yep.
the most important lesson I think I learned is to be very careful who you take advice from. It should only be people you wish to become. And that's going to remove like 99.9% of the noise in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I could not agree more. One of the things that I've tried to figure out through the course of my career, and you kind of touched on it, and this is what I want to get to you. So, you want to be a guitar player. So, I assume you wanted to be a musician full time at some point, or maybe a record executive, whatever. I mean, you were literally, and you were paying the dues. The fact that you were willing to do it for free, and which I think is amazing. That's a concept that a lot of folks just can't even get their brain around. Who was it? Oh, it was. Well, here's a great little story along those lines. Benjamin Graham, if I'm not mistaken, told Warren Buffett, how much would it cost, how little would you take to work for me? And he said, would you pay me to work for me?
Warren Buffett offered to work for free, and he
Eh,
said your price is too high.
price is too high. Exactly. And so, but Buffett still said there was no amount that he would ever be able to pay to be able to learn from Benjamin Graham. And look, it's paid off in space. That's just such a foreign concept for so many people.
Mhm.
Whenever you, so that's, I really admire the fact that you got that you were willing to pay those dues. And I've been there. I mean, like this podcast. Okay. So, folks, let me tell you about podcasting 101. If you get into it to make money, you're going to go broke. I guarantee you, I did not have like folks like Michael's team that's on this show right now. This conversation that's happening 3 years in, this didn't happen. Where I get an email saying, "Hey, I've got a guy that looks like would be that's talented, that would be good on your show, that would add to your show. Your audience should hear from." Nobody was seeking out Jason Wright to come on the
Mhm.
Jason Wright Show. It took a lot of me figuring out this audio video graveyard that I'm sitting in right now. Trying my best to figure out how the hell to make this work, doing it for no money, doing it for free, taking up my time, editing at night, learning how to edit. And I'm not a computer, that's not my background. And doing it for no other reason other than, if I do this long enough, someone will notice, and it will be a platform, and it'll be an asset to my overall game. And so, folks, listen to what we're saying. Be willing to work for free. My question for you is, though, Michael, real quick, when did you figure out kind of your own personal superpower? And what is that superpower, would you say?
I think the thing I have pursued, I don't know if it's a superpower yet, but what I think is the most important thing to pursue is being able to know what opportunity to pursue.
Mm, love that.
So much time is wasted on really, really going after the thing that does not have a positive feedback loop, like music for me.
Mhm.
I kept going long after it was obvious that it wasn't working. Um, and the right way is simple and obvious. You get so much positive feedback when you're on the right path that it makes it feel effortless.
Mhm.
It makes it feel like you're going downstream rather than up through the jungle, up a mountain.
Right.
And once I figured that out, oh, this is what the way feels like. Now everything kind of goes through that, and I move with the current of things. Back to what you were talking about, working for free. It is important to put in your dues to an extent, but you shouldn't be running into a brick wall all the time. The purpose for me to get free was not to make money. The reason I do anything is I build businesses to build myself. And so for me, the first step of getting free was so I could have the time and space and mental energy to step up, look up, and then decide what is the next right path for me. Um, because it's so difficult to know what you truly want when you have needs that need to be met. You need to pay the bills. It's very difficult to like, oh, I really want to do this thing, or what feels easy, what feels good when I do it. Your incentives are clouded, right?
Mhm.
So I always try to like, would I do this for free because I really like the process?
Wow.
Not be like, I'm going to do this for free and I'm going to struggle and grind so I can get to this next place. The next place is just another. you you'll feel good for 10 seconds and then you'll want to do the next thing. There's this great joke when Buddha finally achieved enlightenment, spent like 10 years in a cave. The very next thought he had was, now what?
Now what? Yeah.
Right? There's no goal you're going to achieve in your life what that won't be the next thing.
Yeah.
I sold 3 companies and I retired. And I thought like, cool, I just won the game of life. I'm just going to get good at golf. I lasted maybe a month and I got maybe the most depressed I've ever been
Mhm.
because all I could think of was like, oh my God, I'm 34 and I've got no reason to get up.
Yeah.
There's nothing, this can't be the next 60, 70, 100 years of my life of just killing time.
Yeah.
So it changed my perspective on time. It changed my perspective on work and purpose and meaning. And it's really just trying. You don't want to beat the game because there's nothing outside of it. You want to learn how to really love playing the game because
100%.
it's fun, right? So that was the purpose of all of that. I like doing these podcasts, not because I think we're gonna like get a huge audience, but because I want to get good at understanding my own thoughts, how to communicate, how to tell stories. And that does take practice, right? So,
Yep.
like, let's just line up a ton of these and get good at it, right? And I don't know what that's going to lead to, but it's a skill set I want because I feel like having clarity of thought accentuates that that foundational skill of knowing what the most important thing to work on is
Mhm.
and zoomed out. Why am I working on anything? It's like to have a better life, to be in a flow state. Because I don't really care about the mountaintop anymore. I just like want to be in the river.
Yeah, and it does. Man, that's so. See, I chose this opportunity wisely because I mean that's this exact same. Our stories are very similar, and to the audience out there, when you find that place, when you get out of the matrix, that's kind of what I look at it as. You step out of the matrix and you realize that this is a game to be played. Now, there are consequences. You can't just play the game haphazardly and make stupid decisions. But if you start, like you mentioned, you're doing podcasts so that you'll develop a skill. If more people did things to develop skills and to add um, value to their abilities, to add utility value to the things they can offer the world, then all of a sudden the money will find you, the opportunities will find you. It's that's something that I just finished writing my second novel that may never put
Mm.
out, may never publish. And the first one, the second book I wrote in the first piece of nonfiction, or excuse me, first piece of fiction was more of an exercise just to do it.
Mhm.
I wanted to go through the process. James Altucher, which is
Mhm.
went through something very similar to you. He made his first big lick, and then he became very depressed. Of course, he spent all his money. He didn't like you. James will tell you, he spent all his money and was really depressed. But he figured out there's more to life than just making the money and trying to get the stuff. And so he had this 30-day book challenge, and I kind of started this idea, and I just like, I'm gonna do this just to see if I can. Wrote the book, published it, and got it out there. And then I just wrote what I think is it was my favorite book. I love this book that I've just written. I may never publish it because
Hmm.
that wasn't the goal. The goal was to become a better writer. The goal
Mhm.
was to do like it was the Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art,
Mhm.
trying to just put in the reps and do better. So I really like what you said there about the reason why you're here on this show today and the reason why you're doing podcasts is to develop that skill. So good for you on that. Now I want to take it to you obviously saw an opportunity with momentum and what's going on now. And so how does that happen? You've sold the companies, you're 34, you want to do something different. And so how long ago was that? How old are
It
you?
was 2018, I think.
Okay. Okay. So what's the genesis of this idea that led you to do it? And kind of like that brings us kind of to today, what you're up to.
Well, there's this great study that I read that they put a bunch of people in the woods, and they found out that if someone didn't have a landmark, like to walk towards a mountain peak or something, they ended up walking in circles
Mm,
every single time. So you have to have some sort of goal. The destination doesn't really need to be that important, but just something to walk towards, like maybe write a book in 30 days. Like it doesn't, you get there, it's fine. But um, you're doing it because the journey has a direction. I know I needed to be growing. I knew I couldn't just stay stagnant. You know, Dylan says if you're not busy being born, you're busy dying. So for me to become the next level person, I couldn't just repeat myself and build another company just like I had done. I couldn't retreat and just enjoy the fruits. Um, when I was, you remember Pirates of the Caribbean, and they're cursed after they get the gold.
Yep.
They can't taste anything. Sex doesn't feel good. They've lost all joy of life. I was going to like every 3-star Michelin restaurant in the world, and it's just like I went to every museum in the world. I traveled to like almost 50 countries, and it's just like, oh yeah, this is. I just didn't feel anything anymore. Um, so I decided to make some challenges for myself that I thought were impossible. And I knew that was the defining thing, was to go to the frontier of where I felt comfortable, and then go just beyond it. Because when we're in a growth phase, that's when you're in a flow state. You're like reaching for something just 10% farther than you can. And in that, it makes you be present. You're here trying to solve the problem. You're trying to get better. So I read all of these books. And I knew once I could level up, a whole new vista would appear. So the goal I set for myself in I think 2019 was, I'm going to get a year younger. That sounded impossible to me, right? And I'm going to make $100 million company. Also sounds totally impossible to me at the time. I'm not there yet, but we're going to get there. So with that kind of in mind, with no particular idea of what to do, I just knew that was the goal. And like, okay, now I'm going to start looking for those opportunities. There's, that's the noise you have to sift through. I come up with 10 business ideas a day. That is not, generation is not, it's curation is the problem. And so when you create the parameters for what you're going to do next, and I made that filter very tight, like, okay. And I wasn't thinking about it as a business, to be honest. Like, those are just where my curiosities were lying, was like how to get a year younger. Just a quick pause, little tangent here. Uh, Pursuing your passion is difficult because you probably don't know what you want. You probably don't know what you love. Like when you're a child, ask any child what they want to be, and it's like, I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be a police. It's like what they've seen, what they know. It's within the realm of their experience. You know, uh, once you've experienced more, your imagination is allowed, like, I can be more. That's, to me, like the amazing thing about being a generalist is I've experienced and done so many things. Like I got to go on tour as a rock musician. Or like, I don't actually like the process of this that much. So like in self-examination, why do I want to do this? Is it that I enjoy the process of being a musician, or I think I'm going to enjoy the reward, the fame, and the status, and the influence? And I think it was those things. Those were the real motivations. And so when I removed those and just started looking at the process of things, that's to me the passion that you should be pursuing. Where paying attention to your attention, like what feels like I don't need to force myself to do it. I'm just naturally curious. So those are the strings, the rabbits that I follow. So for me, the year younger thing was not because I just thought it was impossible. I did think that, but it was because I was naturally spending hours and hours a day reading about it, researching about it. And I was like, no one had to force me to do that. So that was a really big clue to me, was to pursue my curiosity. I just really believe that we've been coded in a way that there's some deep inherent wisdom to it. And so if where there is desire, there's probably truth. And if you want to call that faith or something, I just think that knows better. So I just start following that as a compass, and it leads me to all kinds of crazy places that, in a logical sense, why are you all of a sudden spending 3 hours a day on this? Like, how is this going to make money? Like, doesn't make any sense. I don't know. All I know is I just keep wanting to do it. So I'm going to keep doing it. So I'm doing all these things. And then COVID hits, and I realize, health is really on my mind, and that's being accelerated. And the value of money and all these other things are rapidly decreasing. In terms of like, this will not save you. And my girlfriend Stephanie, who just walked by, she runs a dance studio. And if you can imagine running a dance studio during COVID, it was extremely stressful. And one morning she just woke up screaming, I can't see. Her left eye had just turned black. and like the little tunnel of light was squeezing shut on her, and it just went black, and it made everything immediate. Oh wow, nothing matters when your health gets taken away. So that became extremely motivating for me to understand this, because we started going to doctors all over the place. Nobody, we got 1,000 opinions on stuff. And then we're like on the internet and we're trying to find, you get 1,000 opinions. And then, eventually it gets diagnosed as multiple sclerosis, which is an autoimmune disease where your immune system starts attacking your myelin sheath. And in her case, her optic nerve, and just squeezed it shut. So got her on a bunch of steroids, all these things. And she's taken 50, 60 pills a day. And I'm learning a lot. I've already, put in like a year, like 2,000 hours of research on health. And so I know a little bit, but she's like scouring the internet and talking to these doctors. And I know enough to be like, these people don't know what they're talking about. And so that I knew I had to do something where I could curate this noise of knowledge to the things that, like, how does the body actually work? How is this related to aging? And it became pretty clear to me that most diseases are just symptoms of aging, our body breaking down faster than it can repair itself. And those are just symptoms. And then you have something that overfills your cup, like too much inflammation, or in her case, it was stress. And just like her body couldn't take it anymore. And now it's like not working. Same thing with heart disease. You've accumulated stress, and then something happens and it just pushes you over the edge. So I wanted to make something that could make all of this simple and curated knowledge. And then she's taking 50, 60 pills a day trying to do this. And she just one day can't take any more pills. Like, can't force them down. Like, we're trying to like break it up, put in an ice cream. And it just kind of hit me like, what if I made this into a drink? What if I made this, instead of something terrible that you had to suffer through, into something pleasurable? So I started putting all the pills and powders into just like chocolate milk for her. And that's when I realized, like, oh, this could be a real service. This is something that there's a problem here that I can solve. And so I started, that's when I just got the inspiration, I should say, to take what it was sort of a mild personal obsession and like an immediate urgency for Stephanie into, I could make something insanely complex, the concept of aging and health, and reduce it to something beautifully simple, and invert what most people think of as health as sacrifice, and like, oh, healthy food tastes bad, and suffering, right? That's what I think most people think of as the journey of health, is anti-life. How can I make this, instead of a pull, into a push, that you want to drink this? You like look forward to it. It's delicious. It's simple. It's one thing that you don't have to worry about anymore. It's just done for you. You didn't have to spend 2 years researching, a bunch of different people with perverse incentives to sell you of 100 different things that are hard. And that became the journey. And so I just went around the world and found the ingredients from the most expensive suppliers that I could. I made direct relationships with all of them and put a formula together that I thought would be the 80-20 of longevity. And it's based around one central premise. Instead of trying to, like look at some rat studies and, like, oh, if we add this molecule, it'll change the way your body works here, and then you'll have this effect. And we don't know what's going to happen about all the other side effects, right? That's most medical stuff, right? I just looked at, what is our body made out of, the raw materials, and then of those things, what is declining as we get older? What are most people deficient in? If we supply those raw materials, like, your body fixes itself every single day. It knows what to do. There's inherent wisdom there. It just doesn't have the raw materials, because that's our job to give it to them, right? So if I can provide all of those things at the same levels that you had in your 20s, would your body be able to repair itself at a higher rate and slow and delay some of these effects of aging, which is your body just working way less efficiently? So that's the premise, is that the top 20 things that you're declining in, or that you're most likely deficient in. And that's all just put into one shake of the most expensive versions of each of those things. And then we manufacture everything in house. So I know and can trust how everything's made. So I'm trying to do everything the opposite of what the supplement world is, which is some marketer finds a manufacturer to white label a product that they don't know anything about. And then they sell a single ingredient as like a miracle. Uh, your body isn't made out of a single ingredient. It's it's not you're not deficient in resveratrol or whatever other snake oil there is. Your body's not made out of it. Your body's made out of protein and collagen, and hyaluronic acid and NAD. And those are some of the ingredients. So that's a long way of saying that we do everything in house. We do everything at the most expensive we can be, because the motive is to make something incredible. What I got to do as part of that filter of if I'm going to get back into business was to get back to being an artist again. I have now earned the right to make something for the world that meets my standards and expression and purpose. So I approached building a company as if, what if I didn't do this as a business person, but as an artist? You make very different decisions when you do that. You like, I put my name and face on the back of the bag. Like I sign it like I would a painting. Like I want this to be my masterpiece. And so every decision runs through that filter. Like, will this make this the absolute creation of my life? And it's made this whole process really exciting and motivating. And every day I wake up like trying to chisel just a little bit more from that stone and to make it slightly more perfect. And I don't think about like, oh, how can we make that slightly more profitable? It's like, what could we do to make this insanely complex thing more simple and more beautiful? And it's made everything just revolutionary as far as like a lifestyle goes.
Oh, man, everything you said there is pretty remarkable, and the last thing you said there is kind of it's kind of surreal. So the book I told you that I published 2 years ago is called The Stone Chiseler, and
Nice.
it's funny that you referred to yourself as a Renaissance man earlier because there's a character in the book that takes on the mentor role in the hero's journey that I never say who he is, but if you know, you know,
Mm.
it's a historical figure that was the ultimate Renaissance man, and that in and of itself should kind of tell you who it is. But so everything you said just lands real close to me. And I mentioned that I'm the co-founder of a nutraceutical company, and we went through the same process, man. My business partner is a 30-year physician that realized the same thing. And looking at all these different blood panels, there's like certain deficiencies that do lend themselves to the 80/20 rule that you can have a universal impact. I mean, now you do the follow-up blood work and then you look for those precision deficiencies that you can kind of overcome. And it's one of the things I love hearing you tell that story. If you're in look, the podcasts are working because you did a great job of giving credibility and I would say some gravitas to trying to explain a product in an industry that is so jaded. I mean,
Mhm.
I hate it whenever because most of our sales come through clinical sales, so it's really easy. We don't do a lot of direct to consumer selling, although that's going to be as we scale, that will be part of it for sure. But I hate whenever I sit down and someone asks me about it, and then I'll tell them about Authentic Health Partners. And when the minute you say supplements or
Mhm.
supplementation,
Mhm.
and of course, then the fancier word that I've used in this conversation, nutraceuticals, which is just more of the supplements that doctors are now prescribing. Immediately, they're like, "Oh, okay, supplements, yeah,
Mhm.
they all suck, and just really expensive urine." And then there's got, or there's people like you and I that have done the research and said, "Hey, unless you're eating all organic, living in some sort of biosphere, and you're crushing a ton of very perfectly macroed out organic foods and proteins, then look, we live in a toxic environment." I had Ailey Cohen on that wrote the book Non-Toxic, and she's got a new one out called Detoxify. And And that's what Dr. Vickery, my business partner, we talk about. It's like, look, you can be as healthy as you want to, but the air we breathe, the water we drink, just existing in this modern habitat, it's working against you. It's full of miracles. The 10-cent calorie is a miracle. It's a 10-cent calorie that you can just gum. You don't even have to have good teeth to eat. I mean, that in and of itself is a miracle, but it's not, but it's stacked against our ancestral design. And so therefore products like yours, those are enhancers that prepare you to live in this very wonderful, modern, wouldn't have it any other way, the greatest time in human history
Mhm.
ever. But it also, it's like everything else. It comes with a trade-off. It comes
Mhm.
with not the cleanest air, not the cleanest water, not the cleanest products. And so protecting against those things. So everything you said, yes, I'm in the business, but I totally get it. Otherwise, if I weren't, that would make sense. Tell me some now, besides you getting on like this podcast and so eloquently describing the product and why you developed it, and by the way, I hope that your girlfriend is doing
She's, I would say, almost fully recovered. We addressed the issue, got it correctly diagnosed after getting to a couple of doctors, finally found one that was great, got her on a B cell inhibitor medication.
yeah.
So the part of her immune system that was attacking her, we got that suppressed. It's not optimal, right? But it's a solution for now, and it's allowed her brain and eye to heal. She got her vision back. It's not perfect. We're still learning more and more things and trying to make it better and better. But I think it's been 5 years. And when we first got diagnosed, they said she would maybe be in a wheelchair in 2 years.
Oh my.
So we were just really excited that that's not the case, and that she is like almost, I would say, like she would probably describe it as like 95% just as good. Um, and I think it's in this holding pattern. We're at this moment in time, like you stepped into a theater and the orchestra is starting to warm up and the lights are coming down and we're about to experience magic.
Mhm.
Like the world in the next 2 to 5 years is going to become unrecognizable.
I agree.
And just being here for it is is what a privilege,
Mhm.
right? So a big concept about momentum is that there's this wave coming, and it is it is terrifying, it is exciting, but we don't know what's going to happen next. And it's maybe the first time in 1,000 years that we don't know what's going to happen next.
Mhm.
But what I do know is I don't want to get crushed by it or miss it.
Same.
So the concept of momentum is like, okay, get going fast enough to catch this wave and have the ride of a lifetime.
Yep.
So if we can do that with the tools that we have now, where will we be in 10, 15, 20 years as we're on this exponential curve of scientific discovery, right?
Yep.
Uh, right now, the average age is 80 years old. But for a percentage of us with the means and the ambition, 90, 100, these are not out of the question numbers right now, right?
Right.
But can you imagine in 10, 20 years how far the advances will be? Maybe like 120 will be
Mm.
totally normal for life expectancy. But 100 years from now,
Yeah.
are you? Can you visualize a world if we don't blow ourselves up, where we haven't started editing our genes or 3D printing broken pieces of ourselves or regenerating stem cells in our body? I can't imagine that world 100 years from now where the medical advances aren't exponentially staggering. And so we could be this generation, some of us, to catch this wave and then like, oh, we got 10 more years of life extension, which got us enough time for 10 more years, 15, 20. Um, and we just get to witness this vertical up.
That's right.
It's going to be an incredible ride. We just have to have the speed, the momentum to catch it.
I'm with you. And that's why I think products like yours, and hopefully the products like we develop are important. We have so much agency. Like you mentioned, you wanted to be a year younger. So I turned 50 this February, and I told Gus, my business partner, I said, all right, here's your goal is to keep me under 50 biologically for as long as
Mhm.
possible. We're going to report the results. I'm going to compete against Peter Attia in his centenarian decathlon. I'm going to be there.
Nice.
And I think you should do it as well. Well, all of us, me, you, Ben Greenfield, Peter Attia, all these people that understand that we have so much agency over our health, our wellness, and aging. And now he's gotten some knocks here lately. I was some of my friends, which I'd love to introduce you to at the Alliance for Longevity Initiatives in DC. We were talking about David Sinclair, who kind of
Mhm.
started a lot of this conversation
Yeah,
with,
man.
is aging a disease? And you know, I think one of the things that his research started to open our eyes to, his and Matt Camberline, who's actually been on my show, is a great researcher, especially in the field of rapamycin and some other things. Um, is that we have a lot of agency over these levers when it comes to aging. Everyone thought aging was just a foregone conclusion. You have to accept it as it comes. And
Mhm.
and as a result, we thought Alzheimer's, cancer, hypertension, all these other things are just things that, well, you may or may not contract. But the more we learn right now is that no, first of all, yes, physical activity and making decisions on what you put in your body, and then not just or what you keep out of your body, but also
Mhm.
taking
Mhm.
products like yours, like Momentum. And by the way, audience, I'm saying this, you guys know this is not a pay for play podcast. Michael has not given me anything, although I'd love to. I'll definitely try your shakes, dude. So I'll take some samples. But that's I'm saying this because I have done the research to know what you're up to and the products you're trying to bring to market, that you can get these clean products that will enhance the human experience and make it for some of the deficits that just our natural habitat provides. So all you got to do is just jump in, because I'm like you. When these crazy, amazing discoveries and enhancements and innovations come about, I'm here for it. I want to be here for it.
Mhm.
I don't want AI to be a us, the machines versus the humans. I want it to be the humans and the machines working in collaboration to make something so exponentially better than it's ever been. And I want to know how to do it. I want to know how to be a part of it.
Mhm.
And I want to be healthy for it. And finally, like Peter Attia says, my goal is, dude, I want to live as long as I can, and then about 110, just drop off the cliff, dead, gone. I don't want to do this thing that we've gotten really good at in America, where you live and you go below that line of good health and activity, and you're able to stay alive for a long time, but you're not really
Mhm.
living. To me, it's like get hit by a bus at 110. That's the deal.
There's no point
Health.
in living there's no point in living forever if you have nothing to live for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, what I think may be part of the biohacking community or just people's understanding of longevity when people ask like, "Oh, do you wanna live past 100?" Everyone says no, because all they can visualize is being barely alive, right?
Right.
But the only way to live to 110, 120 is to be really healthy.
That's right.
To just like this,
Right.
it doesn't, you're it won't exist otherwise. So I'm always looking for alignment. And what I mean by that is what can I do right now that I enjoy the process of that also has a flywheel effect for the future. So I think the secret to longevity is to become as healthy as possible today. And
100.
I think that extends as a through line, whether you're 80, 90, 100, 200, whatever. If you are healthy today, that radically improves your opportunity to live longer.
Yep.
So live better, longer. That's our catchphrase at Momentum. And so everything is built around that philosophy that you aren't sacrificing today for some unknown future. That suffering that people always talk about. What I think Brian Johnson is a really inspiring person.
Yeah.
However, his philosophy of longevity is it comes across to other people. I don't know that he would say this, but to other people, it looks like he's sacrificing the present, right?
100%. Absolutely.
And like
I'd
he's
have
gonna
a
get
hard
hit
time.
by. Everyone jokes that he's gonna get hit by a bus one day, and that will make all of this sacrifice meaningless. And they might be right, but um, there's a way to do this where you actually are living a better life than you are currently. You're enjoying it more, and it's aligned with longevity.
Yep.
So that's what I'm trying to do is make something that feels like a chore and a big sacrifice into something that you actually, oh, I liked doing that. That was delicious.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And also it's having those goals set out there. Like for me, I'm 50 and I want to be able to enjoy intimacy with my wife
Mhm.
like we're 30. I
Yeah.
want to be able to, whenever I have grandchildren, my oldest daughter's about to get married. So it's very conceivable in the next 5 years, I'm going to have grandkids. When they get 10, 15, or whatever, I want them to come out with, grandpa, and do some pull-ups, and let's go crush some, exercise. And I want them to have a hard time hanging with me, not out of vanity, but because I want to have fun with them.
Right.
It's those things. I want to be able to still, you mentioned traveling the world. That's the closest thing that I have to a hobby other than health and wellness is Jemlyn and I traveling. I love to
Yeah.
travel and see the world. I want to be able to do that. And I want to be able to climb up mountains and have a VO2 max that allows me to do it without dying and having to sit, and so it's this, and that's where I wish more people, I hope that listening to conversations like the ones we're having right now, is that those folks that are, my age, 50 or however, or any age, they realize it's not just about vanity, and it doesn't have to be some soul crushing workout every day. Go for a walk, drink some water,
Mhm.
go grab something like Momentum Shake. Add that to, let that be your dessert. And I think attach that to a goal for the future self and the future activities you want to have, and it'll make it a lot more worthwhile and meaningful, I think.
Yeah, I think to summarize what you're just saying, the way to be young, to stay young longer, is to act young,
100%.
right? Like
100%.
active young people they play, they're doing things, they're moving, they're not just sitting around
That's right.
all the time. You don't want to do everything young people do. Of
Right.
course, you have wisdom now,
That's right.
but to do all the things that they do that aren't work, right? That they do for pleasure.
Right.
If you're doing those things, you're going to stay younger
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah. 100%. Michael, okay, first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ask you, will you come back on the show sometime? This is like
Sure, yeah.
I could
Mhm.
do this. I could do this for another hour. Tell people how they keep up with you, how they find Momentum Shakes, how they buy the product, how they keep up with what you're up to,
Mhm.
and just how do we make that happen?
Yeah, you can go to momentumshake.com. It's $75 for a 15 serving bag. A month supply is 150. If you bought all those ingredients separately, it'd be like $500, $600. So we've really tried to remove all the costs and profit that are in most individual supplements and took out the middlemen for all those people to try to. It's an expensive investment, I understand, but it's at the end of the day, it's $5 a day, um, and it saves you a ton of time and effort, and you actually build a habit to get it done. Most people don't need more information, right? They need execution, and they need that to be simple and aligned with their lifestyle, right? No
100%.
one, the reason America is fat is not because they don't know to eat less and work out. Right? It's because it's hard. How do we make it easy? You need everything in your life to become easy. And then you just move with the river. I don't really do social media much at all. I don't enjoy that very much, so I don't do it. It's probably would be good for my business at some point,
It's
but
one of the reasons why I'm one of the probably the worst podcasts in the world, dude. I feel you. I hate it. I'm supposed to have, like, all these followers stuff, but I hate it. So I get it. But
I just don't do anything I hate anymore.
yeah,
I just so I just move towards the things that make me feel alive,
yeah.
and building makes me feel alive. So I always kind of like, well, how could I make this a massive company and help as many people as possible live longer lives without doing a bunch of stuff I don't like? And the answer to me is always just to make the product better. Um, and so I just keep polishing the statue and trying to make it just a little bit better. And that's so far has been working very well. We've been sold out basically for 2 years straight, and trying to figure out supply chain and capacity and to meet the demand that we have. And so because people just keep recommending it, they bring it to their doctor to like get it verified, and the doctor's like, wow, this is incredible, and the doctor starts recommending it to other people, and then we have this great flywheel. So when we do start advertising and things like that, hopefully this summer, we're expanding our factory right now to try to do that. Uh, I think, yeah, my hope is that it's just a solid flywheel, and I don't have to go out and shill.
hear you. I hear you. I'm with you. We're on the same path, dude. And it just seems, and you know what? It's nice when you're not under the pressure of investors or anything like that. You're just doing it because
Mhm.
you love it and you want to do the right thing. And that's what we always tell ourselves with Authentic Health. It's like, hey, if we build it, we build it right and for the right reasons. We're on the right path, and it's a great place to be. And so I kudos to that, brother. I'm with you. And thanks for coming on the show. Great conversation. Lots of nuggets out there. And I appreciate you sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and your journey with this audience, brother. Thank you. You're welcome back anytime. I promise you, I will be pinging you saying, "Hey, dude, let's get on." And it doesn't have to be, it's just a riff on how some of the things we talked about, how we help inspire people to live the best life they possibly can, and get the most out of this ride.
I would love to. Jason, been a pleasure.
Likewise, brother. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Well, that does it for this episode of the Jason Wright Show. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a Texas Titan Media production. Fourth Wall did the music. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Please consider going out to jasonwrightnow.com and signing up for the Vitruvian letter. Also, please go out to iTunes. It takes like 30 seconds to just leave us a 5-star rating. It does wonders for the podcast. I would be so grateful. And with that, until we meet again, go crush it and endeavor to improve always in all ways. I'm out.